questions. I certainly enjoy answering them the best that I can. Okay, so Heather had a question. Could you please talk about brushes and brush strokes? I'm continually frustrated by not being able to get a brush to leave the mark intended. This is especially true with small repetitive strokes like leaves. And without seeing you paint exactly, Heather, it's I'm just kind of guessing what the answer might be. What difficulty, maybe you can tell me, what difficulty are you having in making those the mark that you intend? I kind of suspect that what's happening is that you're running out of water and pigment in your brush, so it's not being responsive, but I'm not too sure. Is there anything else on that you can tell me?
Well, I guess one thing is that when I'm using a mop, what I want it to do is sometimes kind of go up, like pull it up at the end and have it be a thinner line, and I can't get that. And then when I use a round, I usually have used a round brush for like leaves, and it's like, it won't really spread out well. And if I just tap it on the paper, it keeps being the same shape, and that's boring. So those are two of my issues.
Well, okay, so let's just try a couple of things here. One is, and then a lot of it is, Heather, just experimentation. Take out a piece of paper like I've got here and experiment with it. But one thing is that I'm pushing my brush down into the bottom of my water reservoir so that the water gets all the way through to the center of the brush. And then let's grab some color here. It could possibly be that you are not, maybe you're not getting enough water and pigment into your brush. So I push the bristles uphill to drive that pigment to the back of the brush, so it's fully loaded. Okay. You might be working, I'm kind of suspecting you're working with just the tip of your brush instead of the full brush. So after a kind of a brief mix there, I push the bristles uphill and drive that once again to the back of the ferrule. And then it's a matter of pulling up on the brush as you make these strokes. And coming to the tip. But I also move it sideways and so on. There's another possibility, Heather, I'm not too sure about this, but I have seen this before where students are actually painting uphill like this. And the water's going to the back of the brush, and so nothing's really coming out. You need to keep your hand more uphill.
Yeah, I don't think I do that.
Yeah, so if you're going like this, depending on the angle, all that could be going to the back, and you're not getting anything out of that. So those are some thoughts on that.
Okay.
Is that helpful, or do you need some more? Is there another consideration I'm missing here?
Any thoughts on how to get a round brush? I mean, to make more interesting mark, a more interesting stroke, I guess.
And a round brush, are you talking about the squirrel mop that I have?
No, I'm talking about
one like this, possibly.
It says like 10 round.
Okay. Yeah, so how to make something like that have more of a it's a lot of just how you pull up on the brush. You might be using too small of a brush, and that it won't give you quite the variety as like a squirrel mop.
No, I think the main thing that I heard that I think I'm going to try is just painting bigger. Go to bigger sheets than I usually don't use a full sheet. So. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a matter of manipulating the brush. And also, don't forget, you don't just paint with the tip of the brush like this to make your leaves. You push it down and pull up. Push it down and pull up. All right. It's just a lot of experimentation. Okay. All right. Another question is, Okay, this comes from Joanne. We were talking about the plastic wrap for to create texture. She was asking about the various gimmicks that we can use in watercolor paint, from masking fluid to taping, from salt to spray bottle. What effects can we achieve with these, and what are the considerations? What are considered amateurish and cliche, and what do jurors think, and when do they work? When's it okay to use them? When's it not okay? I think the answer to the last 4 questions that you have, when to use them, do they look amateurish? Should we use them or not? I wouldn't worry about that. I think it's the intent. If the intent is to use those things to achieve a certain result that you want in your painting, by all means use those things. But if you're doing it because you think it's clever, or it'll catch the judge's eyes or something like that, then it really doesn't work. Just use them to help you to achieve your goals, and don't worry about what the judges might think. But as far as the gimmicks that I might use, I really don't use any of them, so I don't have a real thorough answer on these. But probably the only one is maybe the palette knife that I might use to do a little bit of scraping, and then also the spray bottle. If for some reason it's just not quite what I want to loosen up the edges or something, or even to create a little bit of a splatter effect on there, that I might use. But the other things like masking fluid, I find that they are I find that the masking fluid takes too much time to put down, and then I've got to pull it off. It's too time consuming for me. It's too tedious of work. And I've seen some beautiful work done with masking fluid. And if it works for you, that's fine. Masking fluid preserves the white of the paper. And then I think you can also put it down over a dried wash, and it'll preserve that wash. As far as salt, putting salt on, I haven't used that since art school. So I haven't used it for 40 years. And it gives a nice, more of a splattering effect than maybe a spray bottle would do. Try it and just see if you like the look of it. I think once again, though, on any of these things, the masking tape, that's another way of keeping a white on your paper. It'll create a real hard edge. John Salmonen will use that a lot to get really definite lines and definite hard edges. But I think, once again, the try them and see if they appeal to you, but do it with the sense that I think this can help me with my paintings of what I want to achieve, but never try to think of what will appeal to a judge's mind and what they will want. I think that's an endless cycle, and it takes you down a path that you don't want to go, and you can never really figure out a judge. I mean, I think basically what they're looking for, at least when I've judged, is that we want good design, and as far as technique, that's up to the individual artist. Anytime that something is done superficial to catch a judge's eye, I think the judges can pick up on that pretty fast.
Thank you. I was thinking more actually in terms of what they wouldn't want rather than what they would want. Like they see.
I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Joanne. I think anything's possible. If it takes your fingernail to get the scratches in there right the way you want it, use your fingernail. Anything works. Anything more on that, Joanne?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. So then another question that Joanne, you had, and that is about shadows, that they should be full of color, and how if they don't have that color, it will keep them out of a show. How shadows should soften as they get farther from the source. How about a technique class, a demo on shadows? Okay, so I can basically show you the anatomy of a shadow is something like this, but keep in mind that most of the time I don't put this in. So let's say you have I'm just going to exaggerate this. So you have a warm color for a tree. All right. and then you want to put the shadow in. Well, what I will usually do is I will bring this color into the shadow, because we know that that color of the tree is reflecting, especially right at the source of the shadow, is reflecting into that spot right there. And then as I come further out, I start to add more blue, because there's blue. Let's say it's a blue sky. Blue sky is reflecting in there. And then as we get further out, it actually becomes lighter in value. So if there's some tree, there's some, you know, if you got some green happening up here because of the tree shape, the leaves and so on, you know, that'll incorporate down in here too. So it's darker in value. It has the color of the source of the tree at the base of it, and then it starts to pick up color what's up above and becomes lighter in value, and eventually picks up the color of the sky. But most, I don't really follow that. I mean, that's the anatomy of a shadow, but it's usually just good enough to paint your tree, and then just keep it wet enough so the colors come in here, and then just make sure that I've got whatever color I've got up above, I just kind of work it into it, and that's enough. The problem, Joanne, with trying to think too much, just get the value right and the shape right. That's much more important than all this anatomy. The problem with trying to get all this anatomy right is that it slows you down. Your brush strokes are slower. You become overly focused on the shadow, and you forget everything else that's going on in your painting. And the painting becomes stilted and overworked and tired, just simply because of too much focus on one spot. It's a lot better just to get a kind of a group of colors that you have, and then just put it in. Whatever you got going on above, just continue it on through. There's the yellow of the tree. Here's the blue that's probably happening in some bushes and things up in here, and you just work them all together. And you don't have to be really particular about which color. If you have a certain green up here from the leaves and a certain blue and all, you can just grab a mixture of what's going on here. And once again, I'll repeat this: that the shape and the value is much more important and constructive to your painting than to get all of this anatomy and right in here. It slows you down if you think about all that. Okay. Anything else on that, Joanne?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I was not muted. Anyways.
Oh yes. Yeah, you are also asking, can shadows be layered? And I think are you asking about that is just to keep putting layers on top of it, or are you talking about two different shadows coming across each other?
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they can be. You can have another shadow coming from, you know, I don't know. Let's say you got street lights. That's where I see it. You have several different street lights, and so they're casting different shadows. And yeah, you can have it like that.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem at all. In fact, I saw something very interesting a couple of years back, and Ann and I were out on a workshop, and I don't remember where it was at. It might have been Virginia. And we're walking down a sidewalk, and then we had these handrails. Now, I've always kind of thought that, you know, warm light, cool shadows, cool light, warm shadows. That's a phenomenon of nature. I don't really follow it too much. Once again, it tends let me back up a little bit. If you think too much about that, then you've got a lot of anatomy consideration in the shadows, and it can kind of slow down the whole painting process. I just find that if you just keep it simple, like this, it's fine. But anyways, I've always kind of thought that it was more of a perception in the eyes. From cool light will create a warm shadow, and a warm light will create a cool light will create a warm shadow. and that it's more my brain adjusting for it rather than it actually happening visually. And so when we were walking down this sidewalk, there was a cool fluorescent light being cast upon the railing, and then 5 feet next further was a warm light. So we had a warm light, an incandescent bulb, and I had a cool light. And right there in front of me were these two different shadows that were crisscrossing, and one was warm and the other was cool. It was an actual thing that was happening rather than my adjustment in my viewing and perception that it appeared that way. No, these two shadows crisscrossed each other, one being warm, one being cool. So it actually created those shadows of those colors. I thought that was kind of interesting. All right. Any other thoughts or questions?
And one addendum to that is shadows normally become softer as they're farther out from the source. Did you?
They become lighter in value, and they also become softer in edge.
Okay.
And you can see that. I noticed that in our bathroom just the other day. How right near the corner of where the wall was coming down to the floor, it was a really crisp edge there. And then it went out 3 feet or so, it really got soft fast. In nature, a telephone pole, it's more gradual. I'm not too sure why it's so quick with an incandescent bulb, but in nature, it's more gradual. But if you compare the end of the shadow of the telephone pole with near the source, you'll see that it is lighter in value and it's softer in edge. Yeah.